So what we've got here today is my kayak, and what I'm endeavouring to do is chuck on a couple of, they refer to them as kayaks, stabilizers, pontoons, outriggers. Basically just like the outriggers that you see on larger canoes. These are a smaller version made specifically for kayaks for additional stability. I'm looking to do a bit of fishing out of this one. Look, and I know it's not a specific fishing kayak, but I have a couple of other ocean kayak sprinters there, which I use for doing a bit of touring on, a little bit of camping and that sort of stuff. You can't see in there too well, but I'll give you a look at those later on. But they're basically 17 odd foot, cut through the water very well, a little bit tippy, so not great for beginners, but certainly very fast on the water and cover a lot of distance. There's a trailer that I've recently scored, which I'll be making up to carry all the kayaks. So because I just recently got rid of a couple of kayaks to get this one, those the ocean sprinters there, ocean kayak sprinters, they're a sit on top, and they do have storage, but the storage is fairly small, and you do end up with a wet bum regardless of whether it's calm or not, and even with some of the scupper hole plugs. So the idea of this one is, which is only 4.5 meters, which is what, around about 13-14 foot. The idea of this one is to still permit me to get out in winter or in the colder weather with the sit-in type, so I can actually jump in this and still get out and go for a paddle when, through winter and do this for fitness. And I've decided to throw a few rod holders, etc., a few accessories on it too, so I can get out and do a bit of fishing in it as well. So this is the progress so far, and I'll actually, a little bit later in the video, we'll show you some of the additional stuff that I've chucked on. Now these also go by the name of, I think they're originally made as a winner kayak, a winner dreamer, if you want to look them up on the internet. As far as quality goes, it's fairly basic, there's not a lot to it. So they've actually got two large storage holes, one at the front and one at the back, as you can see there, and they are bulk headed, so obviously if you flip over, only the cockpit's going to take on water. Haven't actually tested that out yet, but plan on doing that once I find a suitable day, and I've actually got somebody else with me rather than just do it on my own. This one comes with the rudder, so this one actually comes with the rudder, as you can see there. This is all standard. They were around about the $1,400, $1,500 mark, but I actually picked this one up on sale for $800 brand new. So when I saw that, I figured, yeah, why not? I'll just grab it. Now, the sprinters themselves actually have rudders on the back of them, and whilst neither or none of these kayaks need that for tracking, they all track fairly well. You can see it's fairly narrow at the front and at the back. They track fairly well, but look, I actually like the use of the rudder. I know it's not traditionalist, and some people dislike the rudders, but I do use them for steering, very much so in this one when I'm doing a little bit of fishing or something. Being able to steer the kayak with the pedals whilst you're fishing or riding the current or something along those lines is actually quite handy. Now it's not Hobie-esque, obviously, because you're not giving yourself momentum through your feet, but it does help to navigate, or you're trying to get in around the structure or something like that, and the current's taking you in towards that, and you can actually just steer away from it with your feet. So anyway, getting back to the point of the story, is we're about to affix some kayak stabilizers to the kayak itself. Here's the mount. So the mount is actually going to require me to pop some holes, drill some holes in. I'm assuming at this point, because that's going to make it that little bit more stable, bring them down to pretty much a flush mount, rather than having them sit up higher and then try and stabilize. Now these are actually an eco brand, which is BCF's, I guess. I don't know if I want to call it budget, but probably is referred to as a budget brand, which is the same as the other mounts that I've got on the front, which I'll show you a bit later for my for camera mount and rod mount. I am going to put some flush mounts in the back here somewhere, but I wanted to fit the stabilizers first before I started messing with that, because I wanted these to take priority as far as location goes. Worst comes to worst, if I don't get to put the flush mount rod holders on here, so be it, doesn't matter, this has to take precedence. So now, no instructions included with these, which is a bit disappointing, although it is fairly straightforward, so hopefully we can't do too much wrong. A few things that I haven't liked at this point is they do give you some, and I'll show you the actual buoyancy unit in a sec, but they do give you everything you need with the exception of some bolts to mount these into your kayak. So I had to do a frantic run into a shop in town, into a marine shop in town, and grab myself some bolts to fit these. No biggie, I grabbed a few extras, and you know, they'll go in the kit for later on, so one nice trip later on hopefully. But a bit disappointed that they didn't have that. When I actually show you the the buoyancy modules, which are inflatables, I'll show you a bit of an issue with those as well, but hopefully that's going to be all the issues we're going to run into. Now, considerations as to where to mount. I'd like to have them back a little bit further, or as far as possible, but there's a bulkhead that runs pretty much right here, so we're going to have to be forward of that. Obviously I want to still be able to leave this bungee, so we're going to go about as far left as I dare, and I'm going to mount them sideways like that. Obviously the force that's going to be on these is going to be in that direction, so I figure if I mount them this way, that's going to give them the most opportunity, or the most bracing for that type of force from the up and down of the from the stabilising unit, rather than that way, which I am assuming that would probably be the typical mount of people, or the way people would mount them. So going to go with that. It's going to take up a little bit more room, but we're going to slide them a little bit under that sort of grub rope there. What I've actually just done is ducked in and grabbed texture, etc. for marking. Anyway, we'll drill some holes. There's the dog. G'day, buddy. And we'll come back to you when I've got that done and probably got these in. Right, this is just the box they come in. Very, very basic. You can see it's the Echo brand there. Rugged non-corrosive construction, horizontal vertical mount options. Yep, okay. I understand that. It provides additional stability with kayak. Obviously that's why we're getting these. That's pretty much the breakdown that you get. I'll go to the right way up. So you can see there's a mount that goes on top of the buoyancy unit itself, the crossbar, the beam, whatever you want to call it, and obviously that's the flush mount, and then the unit that attaches to that. So these are removable, which is good from my perspective. I don't want to obviously be fighting with these when I'm chucking it and roof-topping it to get it to my destination. Don't always want these on. If I'm just going to go for a bit of a cruise, not doing any fishing, I won't be putting on these on. But what I'll actually show is that the rest of the box completely blank, not a thing. So pretty much these units come in. There's the mount that actually goes to the top of the unit itself, the buoyancy unit, which is, I'll just take this outside here. There's dog. Oh, and there goes the mobile phone. Alright, so here's the buoyancy unit, and there it goes. So it appears to be fairly heavily constructed, sort of a PVC type construction. Dog just wants to check it out. Get out of it, buddy. Hey, get off. Beat it. So, and there's the valve there. Now, as I said, one other thing that took a bit of an issue with is that to inflate these, you remove this, which is basically just the cap. Doesn't really need to be there because it's got a little valve in there. I'm not sure if you can see that, but you push down on that, which is spring loaded, and that releases another little valve inside. But to inflate it, what you've actually got to do is hold your finger on it here, push down, and then blow on it. Now, I know that might sound simple, but it actually provides quite a unique challenge to actually get a seal around that and have your finger on the side of your mouth and apply pressure to enough to blow into it. So, look, I've actually got a 12 volt pump which I use to inflate my blow up mattresses and stuff like that, and even the force that was able to apply by simply just putting that in the hole and forcing it didn't force open that valve. You've actually got to apply a downward pressure. So maybe there's something more to it, maybe there's a simpler technique, but as I said, didn't come with the instructions, so you left up your own devices. But it only took about I don't know, maybe 5 full breaths to get it to a reasonable pressure. So anyway, good news is these deflate. I'll just drop that down there. These deflate So I can actually, and I may, depending how we go, I'm actually just end up storing these in the back of the kayak itself, and then I can whip them out and use them whenever I feel the need. Maybe throw in a couple of soft plastics or something like that, and a telescopic rod, so I can be ready to have a bit of a fish at a moment's notice if I'm out having a paddle and something pops up. I've just fit the first pontoon or outrigger, as you can see there. I've left the other one out for a reason, we'll get into that in just a second. But you can see that's a fairly sizable sort of unit. I've put them back as far as I can. Like I said, I had to come closer to the cockpit than I probably would have liked, but look, that's probably not actually a bad position really. I didn't want it to too much interfere with the back part of my stroke, but I don't think I've really got much alternative. They're fairly long, so they should sit out fairly wide, so hopefully that won't be too much of a problem, but ultimately I won't know until I get them on the water. Again, you know, it's pretty much going to be for stabilising when I'm actually fishing, or you know, using my radio and making contacts and stuff like that, rather than being on the move. But I'm going to be quite interested to see how they affect the performance of the boat in the water, you know, while I'm paddling along, and what sort of change to speed it does. So yeah, look, that'll be interesting, and manoeuvrability, that'll be interesting as well. I really like the fact that these pop up like that and they move upwards. Forgive the lawn too, by the way, haven't had a chance to mow it this weekend. As you can see, it's been a little bit wet, etc. So look, and the other point that I wanted to make is, when you go over here, and this is another reason I wanted them forward of the bulkhead, is that, not sure whether you can see there, but that's actually an open bottom there, so if any water splashes over, that's going to go straight into the boat. So the reason I've done that, hang on, here's Titan checking out the boat. The reason I've done that, come on buddy, off you go. The reason I've gone with them that way is so if any water splashes over the boat, it goes into the cockpit, and obviously look, it's going to be minimal, rather than going into the bulkhead and jeopardising, you know, the flotation that you benefit from the bulkhead. Actually, what I might show you is the locking mechanism. It's fairly standard for most of your boating type stuff, and your mounts, you know, Scotty rod holder or rail blazer or something like that. It's another BCF type brand. Obviously you've got sort of a locking system, can only go in one way, so you'll see there's a bit of a notch on there, so you've got to find where that is, just like that. There we go. And then if you just sort of lift it up a little bit, she'll rotate, and then you just push it down to lock it in at whatever angle you want. Very similar to this sort of scenario here with the teeth where they lock into each other. The same on the top of the pontoon. Now what you actually see is these are multi-use, multi-purpose, same as your Scotty rod holes and all that sort of stuff. Just a different version. This is actually the mount that I use for the camera, and that's the one that I use for the rod. Obviously they're interchangeable, and I can actually use those ones at the back to put any of my holders on as well if I decide I don't want to use the floats. What I did was just grab a piece of 15mm PVC pipe, because you can see these can be mounted for vertical or horizontal operation. So I just cut a piece of PVC pipe to length to go in between those two. I've attached my leashes and stuff to those, and eventually I'm probably going to do something in the middle there to attach the GPS or one of my radios or something along those lines. In retrospect, what I should have done was just purchase one of these, and you can actually get like a triple mount, which will just lock into one of these mounts and actually gives you 3 points of attachment. I probably should have done that in retrospect, but then I would have lost out on this. And look, I don't mind these actually having their 4 points of contact each. As you can see, I absolutely love my silicon. Bit of a love-hate relationship actually, gets everywhere, but fantastic stuff, and a bit of a necessity here. Anyway, so we'll just go back to attach this. Not sure whether you're getting that, but just gotta, you're just hanging around my neck at this point, so we've just got to get that on there, rotate it around that way, and then, oh hang on, we haven't actually got that in, so there we go. And we'll rotate it and push her on, and the job's a good one. So there you go, there she is with the two stabilizers on the back. They're actually quite a lot bigger than I thought they were. So in theory these should be offering a lot of uplift, a lot of stabilisation. Now at this point I've actually put the valves on the outside. Not real sure at this point whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. The reason, well, the thinking was that I'm not going to bump them when I'm paddling, if they do actually obstruct my paddling at all, so they're on the outside. But we'll see where we go. You know, if I start going to destinations where there's a lot of structure and trees and stuff and they start to get in the way, and maybe these are going to catch and twist off or something like that, which is highly unlikely, and we might just spin them around and put them on the inside, swap them over or something like that. So there they are in their most upright position. Now that probably shows that I'm a little bit out as far as mounting goes. You can see there's a bit of a cross there, although maybe that's just the angle at which I've mounted them. But that's pretty close, so I'm pretty happy with that. For the most part it was just done by eye. So we'll see whether we've actually chosen a good position for those. Again, options, you know, didn't want them anywhere this side of the bulkhead. Didn't want them too close to the back in case I put some flush mount rod holders there. There we go. Can't wait to get it out on the water and test her out and see how she goes and see what sort of stability she gives. Obviously once I've had an opportunity to get out and test it, I'll take the camera out and show you how they go. Figured while we're here, might as well show you the rest of this stuff. There's what I've used as a camera mount. Like I said, it's just one of the standard bases, eco bases. It's a short pole, probably, I don't know, about 30 centimeters give or take. And there's the mount on top. Obviously that's flexible, that'll go down. I can rotate that down, spin it around out a little bit. What I was going to do is see if I can get an extra length of this, maybe just to extend it a little bit, or possibly even buy another one of these and mount it on top. Very versatile. And there's just a cheap mount off eBay. What I've actually done is just taken the ball head off that, and so that gives me the flexibility of manoeuvring the angle of the camera there as well. So this is actually meant for a compass. This was come with a mount and this just little lock piece, flat piece there, which was the eco version of a compass mount. I don't know why you'd want to mount a compass on one of these big solid bases for, but anyway, so I did that, drilled down through the middle, mounted up into the bottom of that, and there we go. Now this is their, what they call their light rod holder. They've got a couple of variants in the eco line, and I quite like this one. Look, when I initially bought it I thought, yeah, maybe, or should I go with a more solid one? I'm actually really glad that I went with this, and I'll show you why. What you actually get to mount on the end of your rod, and this can be set in various places, is this piece here. Now I couldn't figure it out originally. Again, unfortunately, you know, not a lot of instruction or anything, but you mount this to your rod. I'm sure I can get you a good shot of it. That actually undoes, slips off, and this piece goes up. I'll just tighten that back up so you can put this anywhere along the rod. You're not going to be using this on heavy gear because it simply won't go around the rod. So you won't need it to be light gear. Now, like I said, you can slide this up or down. Sometimes I have it sort of just below the reel here. You drop your reel in, drop your rod in, and that actually, let me see if I can get you a good shot here, making this look more awkward than it has to be, actually locks on. So when you're actually out fishing, when you get a strike, you're not going to lose your rod because it's locked in. It's locked into the base here, and to retrieve it, all you do is simply grab your rod, pull the lever, and you're out. And then to put it in, just drop it in, push down, and she's locked on. So really, really good system. I'm actually going to grab a few more of these, I think, for the actual boat itself. But, real handy. Again, you know, same as all your other stuff, manoeuvrable, spin it around, you know, push it down to your location. There's the nut there that you can loosen, angle down, upwards, whatever you want to do, but to grab it off, just simply stick a finger under that and lift her up, and away you go. So really impressed with that. And what I can also do is, like I said, you know, combination of things. We can have this on either side we want, but we've got the camera mounted on. That's actually one of the base mounts in here, so I can actually put the rod up there if I want a bit of a higher action for some reason, or whatever. One other quick thing that I just did was just grabbed a couple of these pole clips. Not sure what you want to call them. They've just come from Buyers Boating. I think they're about $2 each. I've actually situated another one just up the front there. You can see it. And what I actually do is just drop my pole into there like that, and she's out of the way, and she's clipped on. I can actually, depends on how I want it, drop it in there like that, move it back, and that sort of comes right back here. But I actually prefer to put it right up the front there like that, and she's out of the way, and that's fairly flat. And that paddle's on top there like that. There's no leash, I could have obviously the paddle leash onto it if I want, and then if she falls off there's no issues. Thrown a couple of little cleats on the side for anchoring. We'll get around to that later on. You can still access the bag here. Obviously that's for wet stuff, but I put a dry bag in there. Look inside, I'm not sure where that's going to come up. So there's your bulkhead right at the front. There's your pedals for steering. I'm going to get my minky foot out of the way. So there's plenty of room in here, so when I'm actually fishing, I can actually throw any caught fish in a bag in under there. Or I'm really interested in seeing how these stabilizers go, so if I can actually maybe stand up, turn around, access that back. Also, what you'll see, if I'm getting an angle here, and what you'll also see if I'm getting an angle here is there's a bit of room either side under the seat here. I've actually found I can fit a couple of tackle boxes under either side, so that's pretty handy as well. And I've also got another backrest coming from the US for this, and another seat just to make it a little bit more comfortable. I find these kayaks as standard, the seating position is a little bit uncomfortable. Look, I've covered probably 10 Ks or something, 10-15 Ks in this, at any one given time, and that's been fine. What I've actually found though is sitting and not going anywhere, just sitting fishing, hurts your back more than moving, because you're actually, you're sitting in that one position, actually pinches a few of your nerves, and end up with quite a sore back for a few days. But anyway, that's the setup at the moment. Like I said, real easy to grab off and take off, real easy just to push on, lock back in, and you're not losing that. I really like that versus some other rod holders. Anyway, any questions, any comments, feel free, chuck them up there. And I'm really interested if any of you got a sit-in kayak that you've converted to use for fishing and other utilities, and I'd be really interested in seeing it. There's a lot of sit-on-top stuff, but not a lot of sit-in kayaks as far as information on YouTube and whatnot. So, one other thing, BCF. Now, I have no association with them, but I've been looking on YouTube and all sorts of stuff, and I've seen people have made up their own leashes and whatnot, but they tend to be sort of around the $12-15 mark. They've got these currently on sale, again, the Eco brand, for $4.95. So I grabbed sort of half a dozen of these. Couldn't ignore that at that price, and whether I use them or not is another thing. I'll chuck them outside, and I've got plenty there for later. Anyway, like I said, any comments, questions, whatever, fire away. Thanks for watching.